Hello YouTube, this is the Dbtgamer Show, episode 194, and today I'm going to review The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Let's see if this game lives up to the hype. Right, that's my Nintendo Wii, so let's start this review. The story for Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, it's a pretty good story. At the beginning of the game, Link and Zelda are students at a school in a town called Skyloft, and it's time for the yearly festival where the students of the Skyloft school will obtain the next level in their knighthood. In the game, Link is trying to be a knight of Skyloft, and it is time for him to take his test to get the next level of knighthood. And the test involves him flying a bird and grabbing this statue and returning it. But there's one huge problem. At the beginning of the game, your bird has been kidnapped by the local bully known as Gus or Gruss. As far as I'm concerned, Gruss, yes, he's a bully, but he's not a very bad bully. He just he only takes your bird because he fancies Zelda and he wants to he wants to get a statue instead of Link so he can talk to Zelda instead. So he's kind of more like a rival than a bully, but he can still be kind of annoying. At times, though, he can be rather funny. At some points of the game, he's my favourite character. After you find your bird, you do the test. You complete the test, and after you complete the test, you get to go up on this massive statue thing to see Zelda. And Zelda puts the statue in. This tiny statue into the big statue to say that the ceremony and the ritual and you've passed your test is complete and everything. And after you do that, part of the ceremony is to jump off this huge statue and land in this big circle. Yeah, and Princess Zelda, she literally pushes you off this statue. That's a great start to a relationship. I'm going to push you off a cliff. Bye! so you fall down, you land on it, and that's it. After that, you go for a fly around the town of Skyloft. It's kind of like I suppose you could call it a date. And whilst Link and Zelda are talking, this massive black cloud comes up, and out of this black cloud comes this giant monster thing. This tornado blows Zelda off your bird. She falls into the monster's mouth, and she gets kidnapped. After this, Link returns to Zelda's father and tells him what happened to his daughter, and that's the basic beginning part of the story for the game. The rest of the game involves this character called Faye. Let me just find her. And she guides you to Zelda, and throughout the game you have to go through several temples to make your sword more powerful so that you can defeat bosses and all that sort of stuff. All in all, I thought the story was pretty good. I was interested to learn how the Master Sword was forged and how it came about, and how it became the godlike power that always seems to be the only thing that can defeat Ganon and Ganondorf. The romantic bits with Zelda and Link, I thought they were pretty okay, but the relationship was mostly Zelda talking and Link just nodding his head. But it was kind of cute to see them together finally. So all in all, I thought the story was pretty good. Graphics of the game. The graphics of the game are absolutely gorgeous. I really like the graphics in this game. It's kind of a combination between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. The game itself, if I had to describe it, it looks like a watercolour painting, and it's just really nice. Music of the game. The music of the game is absolutely beautiful. The entire game is completely orchestrated, and the music just sounds very clear and very high quality. It's just a really nice musical score. Controls for the game. Well, let's grab my bird and then we'll start off to explain the controls. Hold down A to run. Your run is limited by a stamina meter, so be sure to watch out for that. Press down on your D-pad to call your bird when you jump off these platforms, or when you jump off an island. Okay, bird controls. Tilt the remote to turn. Lift the wing remote and nunchuck up to, and then push them down to flap your wings to go higher. This also makes you go faster. Press A to dash. That little spinny spirally thing, that's a special move I got there on the game. You won't have that right away. If you tilt the remote down, you can dive. Tilt the remote quickly upwards, you can climb back up again. And that's really all there is to it, to controlling the bird. You can also press B to slow down if you need to. Right, let me just get down to the ground now. I'll talk about sword fighting controls. Right, sword fighting controls. Sword fighting controls are all motion controlled, just like a lot of the other things in the game. Swing your arm horizontally, it can do a horizontal slash. Swing your arm vertically, you can do a vertical slash. Swing your arm diagonally, you can do a diagonal slash. Push your remote forward, you can do a thrust. If you move the remotes both at the same time, you can do a split attack horizontally. Move them up at the same time, you can do a split attack vertically. Jump attack. Press whilst in Z target mode, you move towards your target. Press A. Wait. Press A. And you'll jump attack. And that's the basic sword controls for the game. Most of the sword controls are pretty simple and they're pretty accurate, because the sword controls work really well. Okay, other controls. Press the up button on your D-pad to use your harp. The harp, as far as instruments go in Zelda games, it's a very simple instrument. You just press A, then move your remote around at a certain point in the game and just play a song. It's very, very simple. Plus button brings up your map. On your map you can place beacons so you can mark places you want to go. Minus button, it puts certain items away. If you hold minus, you make your adventure pouch, which is a small inventory which you can keep certain things in. And the more I've got a potion, some heart medallions, and my bags, my ammo, my weapons. One button brings up your collection screen, which holds all your treasure and your quest items. And also here you can recalibrate your Wii remote, which is quite important because the Wii remote goes out of sync quite a bit, and if it goes out of sync you'll find yourself losing quite a lot of sword fights. 2 button brings us quick tutorial so you can find out what you're doing. Down button calls Faye so you can get help from her. She's a pretty helpful character. A button talks to people. B button brings up the item you've got equipped. If you hold B, you can pick through your items. Most of the items are controlled with the motion controls. Example is the whip. Bombs can be placed on the floor or rolled or thrown. To place bombs, you just put your you just press A. To roll them, you just put your remote by your side and just roll as if you're playing Wii Sports. And to throw bombs, you just hold it upwards and throw. There's one more sword move I'll show you. I forgot to show you earlier. It's the Skyward strike. You hold your sword up in the air to charge up. Once it's charged, you can wield a beam of energy to take out your enemies. It's really useful. I found myself using this a lot in the game. Gameplay for the game. The gameplay for the game, it's really good. It's an adventure game. The game itself takes about 30 to 40 hours to beat. But if you manage to do some of the side quests, the game time can easily double. So far, I've spent 60 hours on this game, and it's really good as far as gameplay is concerned. Dungeons for this game. The dungeons for this game, they're also really good. My favourite dungeons would have to be the one of the later dungeons where you have to push these tiles to rearrange how the dungeon is laid out. That's a really good one. It's got some really nice puzzles. Another dungeon I really liked was the pirate ship one, and some of the fire dungeons were good as well. My least favourite dungeon would have to be the first one, because the first dungeon you have to fight this boss who's the main villain of the game, and for him being the first boss, it made the dungeon really difficult, and I didn't really like him in the first place either. He kept grabbing my sword between his fingers, and he was just generally really annoying. But most of the dungeons in the game are good, and I really like playing through them. Hey buddy! One more. Get ready for a surprise! Throughout the game, there are some areas which I like to call mini dungeons. Let me just get back to my bird and I'll talk about those. Throughout the game, there are these statues. These statues can be used to save your game and also return to the sky. Right, as I was saying earlier, YouTube, there are 3 areas in the game which I like to call mini dungeons. In the cloud area, if you press the plus button, you can see your world map. The first mini dungeon, as I call it, is the Far Woods. It's a pretty good area. It's the first area you go to in the game. It's filled with forests and trees I showed you earlier on. The second area is the Elden Volcano. It's filled with loads of fire. And the Lyru Desert is the desert area. There is one more mini dungeon which leads you to the water temple, but it's a very small area which is sort of tacked onto the water temple. I mean, to the forest area of the game. Good stuff about this game. The good stuff about this game, the story is really good. I really like the story. The cutscenes are fantastic. They're really well done. Gameplay of the game is really good. Throughout the game, I really liked all the different companions you met up with. My favourite companion would have to be the bird. She's just a really nice character, and I really like her. Another companion I liked was this little robot that you got to have, and the robot can take certain objects to certain places for you. Although I sometimes wonder when I'm using the robot, why can't I just put the item in my pocket like I do everything else? Throughout the game, when you get to a certain area, you can get checkpoints, and you can fly to these checkpoints once you've unlocked them. It makes getting around a lot easier. You don't have to walk or run everywhere. One mechanic which I really liked is the dowsing system. If you press the C button, you can douse for certain items. A lot of people on the internet say they don't like this mechanic, but I think it's a really good idea. It helps you find things. What's not to like? Picky people. Throughout the game, you can collect treasures. These treasures can be used to refine items. You've got hornet larvas, feathers, tumbleweeds, lizard tails, iron ore, flowers, these relic things, which come in orange and purple. The purple ones are a little bit more hard to find, and at one point in the game you can't find them anymore, so you have to buy them, which is kind of a pain. You got jelly, monster claws, monster horns. They're pretty fun to collect, because you can use the whip to grab them off the enemy. Ornamental skull, you get them off killing enemies, of course. Dark crystal, you get these from a mini game. Blue feathers is an absolute pain in the ass to find because you have to catch a blue bird and they're really difficult to get. Golden skull, it's a very rare item. You can sometimes get it instead of an ornamental skull you kill an enemy. And the goddess plume is really rare. You can only see to find them in dungeons. As well as treasures that you can find bugs. The bugs can be used to make potions. These are pretty useful. Throughout the game you can get several items. You've got your bombs, which I talked about earlier, which can be thrown in a variety of ways. You've got your bow, which can be shot in two ways. You can either hold down A and just fire, or press A, or if you like Wii Sports Resort, you can control the bow the exact same way you do in Wii Sports. By just holding down C and then pulling the remote out like a bow and arrow. Gust bellows. The gust bellows, they're an okay item. You use them to blow away sand in the desert temples. They aren't really much. They don't really do much else. The whip. The whip is one of my favourite items in the game. You can use it to steal items from enemies, and I just really like it. It makes me feel like Indiana Jones. You can swim across platforms and all that stuff. Claw shots. Claw shots can be used to stun enemies and to hook onto platforms and make your way across areas that you can't reach to normally. There is one disappointing thing about the claw shots. In Twilight Princess, you could grab onto things and reel yourself in and out, so you could get to certain areas. In this game, you can't do that. That's kind of a shame. I really like that feature in Twilight Princess. Slingshot. The slingshot, at the beginning of the game, you can always shoot one seed, but if you upgrade it, you can shoot several seeds. A lot of the items are upgradable. The bug net is used for catching bugs and nothing else. If you upgrade it, you can catch more bugs. It's pretty useful. You just control it the same way you control your sword. But my favourite item would have to be the beetle. Throughout the game, the beetle gets upgrades loads of times. It gets claws so it can grab bombs. You can upgrade it so it goes faster. You can upgrade it so it can go further. It's a really simple thing to control. All you do is tilt the remote as if you were flying on a plane. And hold A to speed up, and that's all there is to it. I really like this item. Right, you two, now I'm going to talk about some of the bosses. Throughout the game, there are several mini-games which you can take part in. One of my favourite mini-games is the boss rush. The boss rush, you can challenge bosses, and if you challenge the bosses and defeat them all in a row, you can get the best shield in the game, which is the Hylian shield. The shield controls in this game, they're pretty good. All you do is thrust your remote forward through a shield shove, and it's really accurate, unlike in Twilight Princess. Each shield has an energy bar. The Hylian shield has infinite shield health. There are other shields in the game which you can get before this. The iron shield is a pretty strong one, it protects from fire. The wooden shield, it's pretty strong. There's also this purple shield which protects you from almost anything, but it has really shitty health no matter how much you upgrade the bloody thing. So all in all, I like the shield. Now let's show off a boss. This is one of the earliest bosses in the game. This is one of the earliest bosses in the game. This is Scolder. It's a giant fireball thing, and you have to throw your bombs at it. And once you've thrown a bomb at it to knock it down, you got to throw away its mouth and give it a tummy ache. Once you've done that, stab its eye and then run. This boss isn't too difficult. I've actually beaten this boss in about 45 seconds once. It was a pretty good time. Other boss in the game I liked is this giant octopus, which I really liked fighting. was pretty good. That was in the pirate ship. My least favourite boss to fight has to be the main villain called Gearhim. I don't like fighting this guy because he keeps grabbing your sword with his fingers and he's just really annoying. Right, let's finish this guy off. And he gets more bombs. Throughout the game, if you find some bombs, you can actually pick them up out of the flowers and just press B to put them in your backpack. This is a really useful tip because if you're running out of bombs and you are low on rupees, you can just pick up some bombs from the flowers and you don't have to pay for the things. This is a really great idea. I'm glad the Zelda team put this one in, and I hope it continues to appear in later Zelda games. Got something for you. I think he's almost dead. There we are. Right on cue. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about YouTube is side quests. Throughout the game there are several side quests which you can take part in. Most of these side quests you'll get a special item called gratitude crystals. These crystals can be used to unlock certain things in the game. One of the major side quests is where you give these gratitude crystals to this demon and he gives you certain rewards. If you manage to give him enough crystals, you can turn this demon into a human because that's his wish. He gives you water upgrades and all that sort of thing. The other side quest I really liked was this side quest where you had to go find this little girl. It's also linked to the quest where you're helping that demon out. And yeah, most of the side quests I thought were really good. Throughout the game there's also a help system, or a hint system, whatever you want to call it. And that is the Sheikah Stone. The Sheikah Stone is there right from the beginning. And I really like this feature because sometimes when I'm playing a game I can get stuck and I have to go on the internet to find out what to do next. But in Skyward Sword you don't have to do that. You can just go back to Skyloft, behind the school, next to the place where you learn how to use the sword, talk to the stone and get hints whenever you want. And the Sheikah Stone just doesn't give you regular hints like on how to beat the game's story. It also gives you hints on how to get certain items and how to do certain side quests. So the Sheikah Stone is pretty much a 100% complete strategy guide and I really liked it. There's also a newer strategy guide in the game that is, of course, Faye. Throughout the game, she can tell you where to go next, she can give you advice, and also she can tell you rumours. Most of her rumours will be true, and she's just a really helpful character. Right, YouTube, that's all the gameplay I'm going to show. Now on to my complaints. Okay, my complaints about Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Complaint number 1. I wasn't very fond of Faye. She's a good companion for Link and she's a good helper, but she's kind of emotionless and very robotic. I know she's the spirit of the Master Sword and that's why she has no emotions. She does gain some emotions towards the end of the game, but most of the time when you ask her a question she goes, Zelda is in this direction, we shall find her, there's a 76% chance of finding her there. So, I like Faye, but she just sounded a little bit robotic. I wish she had a bit more emotion. My second complaint is an item called the Sailcloth. The Sailcloth is this little item which you can use to glide down to certain areas safely. My complaint with this item is, why couldn't you use this to glide instead of doing that stupid tilting the remote stuff when you're falling off a platform. I really wish they utilised the sailcloth in the same way they did in Wind Waker with the Deku Leaf. My third complaint, the controls in the game don't always work the way they should do. One aspect of this, which is pretty easy to talk about, is the when you're in the forest area and when you see a rope in front of you, you have to walk across the rope as if you're balancing, and most of the time if you tilt the remote to try and steady yourself, you'll fall off. And this happened a lot with me, and most of the time when I fall off the rope, I just end up shimmying my way across, which just because it was easier. Most controls do work well, but there are certain areas in the game which I think Nintendo could have spent a bit more time on. Example, the rope walking and the falling controls, because they weren't very good either. Another thing I don't like about the game is the overworld. The game itself feels rather small. I mean, a good example would be of a long Zelda game would be Wind Waker. In Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, you could explore a lot of things in the Great Sea. But in Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword, you have this massive cloud area to explore, but when you search the cloud area, there isn't really that much to explore, and I found this really disappointing. You've got the 3 main questing areas and a few islands, that's it, and the game just doesn't seem very big, and I thought it was a big shame that it wasn't really fleshed out a bit more. Another thing I didn't really like about the game were some of the medallions. Throughout the game you can get these medallions which will make the game easier. There's the bug medallion which lets you find bugs easier, which is really useful. There's the treasure medallion, which is the best medallion in the game, period, which helps you find more treasures so you can upgrade your weapons. And there's the heart medallion, which helps you find more energy. And then there's my hated medallion, the heart container medallion. The heart container medallion is one of the most stupidest ideas ever put into a Zelda game, period. I really hated this item. When I first found this item, I thought, oh, this medallion will help me find heart container pieces so I can track them easier. So I equipped it and just to see what it did, but instead it gave me an extra unit of health. So I thought, maybe this is just for a temporary measure until I find more health. But no, I was wrong. In the game there are 18 heart containers, and your final 2 heart containers are these heart container medallions. And I thought this was a really stupid idea because it just takes up space in your inventory. And it really made me angry when I was trying to figure out what to take with me and what not to take with me. Another thing I really hated about the game was the adventure pouch system. In the game, if you hold down the minus button, you get up the adventure pouch menu. The adventure pouch is one of the most stupidest ideas I've ever seen in a Zelda game. It's an inventory system very similar to some of the old Resident Evil games. The pouch, of course, is upgradable, where you can upgrade to 8 different slots, and it gets more manageable as the game goes on, because you get to upgrade your shields and that sort of thing, but it just feels really restrictive. I would much rather have the old-fashioned Zelda style, where you just pick up something, put it in your pocket, and just use it whenever you want. I found the adventure pouch really restricting, really annoying, and just really frustrating. Throughout the game, I was just very annoyed having to constantly go back to the person to pick up something I'd forgotten, and it just made the game really frustrating. And the other thing I hate about the game, and this is quite a big one, is the changes to the Z targeting system. Throughout the game, you use the Z target to fight enemies, just like in every other 3D Zelda game. But they've changed the Z targeting system. In some of the earlier Zelda games, the Z targeting system had 2 modes which you can use it in. You had hold mode, where you held the Z trigger, and you had switch mode. Personally, I never really used hold mode that much because it wasn't really ideal for fighting multiple enemies, and it was more difficult to switch targets. personally I like to use Switch mode, but in Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Switch mode has been removed. This is not a good idea for several reasons. My style of playing Zelda games is pretty much geared towards playing the Switch style, and when I was fighting multiple enemies, I could not switch my targets, and it made the combat a lot more difficult. I have no idea why Nintendo decided to remove the Switch Z targeting, and it really made me angry. When I first started playing the game, I actually spent the first hour of the game, whilst watching the cutscenes and doing other stuff, looking through the menus, just trying to find if there was a way to switch the targeting. And no matter how hard I looked and no matter how hard I tried to find, I even went on the internet to see if there was a way to do this, and nothing. And it just really annoyed me. It made the fighting mechanics a lot more difficult than they should have been. Would I recommend Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword? As far as Zelda games go, it's a good Zelda game. It's definitely worth picking up, but it's not as perfect as everybody else says it is on the internet, in my opinion. This game has been given a lot of praise, and a lot of people think it's the best Zelda game ever. It's not. It has quite a few problems, as I just mentioned. It's still a good game, but it's got a lot of problems, I feel. My rating for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is a 3.5 out of 5. So it's a pretty good game, but it has a lot of problems. My next review will be Donkey Kong Country 3 for the Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, and Wii Virtual Console. Until then, YouTube, bye.